Here's the thing about Japanese motorhomes. They think about things differently. When you look at one of the smartest motorhomes in the world, like the Annex Liberty 52 SPI from Japan, you start to question many of the assumptions we've accepted as truth in North America. This RV is barely 17 feet long. That's shorter than most pickup trucks. Yet somehow, it sleeps 5 people and handles winter camping better than Class Cs that are twice its size. When I first heard about it, I laughed it off. No way, right? But then I actually explored the engineering, and now I'm taking back my earlier statement. It starts with the Toyota Camroad chassis, and there's an interesting story here. The Japan RV Association went to Toyota and said they needed something purpose-built for motorhomes. Not a delivery van to modify, not a pickup with extra parts. A real chassis designed from the ground up for this purpose, and Toyota agreed. Under the hood, there's a 2.8-liter turbo diesel. Nothing fancy, nothing that will set speed records, but it's built for endurance. It has torque when you need it, and one major advantage of this motorhome is that any Toyota dealer anywhere in the world can service it. You can't do that with your American RV. This motorhome comes with an optional 4-wheel drive system. When's the last time you saw that on a compact Class C? It opens up a whole world of forest roads and winter camping that most rigs can't manage. Plus, those dual rear wheels really improve stability, especially when you're getting buffeted by wind or passing 8-wheelers on the interstate. Let me walk you around the outside, because this is where you really start seeing how much thought went into the details. First thing is the rain gutter system. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who cares about gutters? But hear me out. Most RVs have flat roofs and water just runs down the sides, leaving those nasty black streaks you see on basically every rig that's more than 2 years old. The Liberty has this internal channel system that catches water and directs it away from the walls and door areas. Sounds simple, but it actually works. Your rig stays cleaner, seals last longer, less chance of water damage over time. The mirrors are kind of interesting too. Passenger side is electric and the driver side is manual. At first I thought, why not make them both electric? But then it clicked. You're constantly adjusting the passenger mirror for blind spots and lane changes. The driver's side, you set it once and basically forget about it. Because why overcomplicate something that doesn't need complicating? The entry step automatically extends when you open the door and retracts when you close it. Pretty standard stuff. But here's where it gets smart. You can manually disable it. Seems weird until you're trying to park in a tight spot where that extended step would smack into something. Instead of fighting with it or risking damage, you just flip a switch and handle it yourself. This motorhome also has a storage door in the rear. This one impressed me more than it probably should have. It's got gas struts, so when you unlatch it, it just lifts up and stays there. Both hands free to load whatever you need. Generators, coolers, camping gear, whatever. You don't realize how annoying it is to hold a door open with one hand while trying to wrestle heavy stuff with the other until you don't have to anymore. There's also this little water drain valve on the rear left side. Turn it, and you can empty the whole plumbing system. Super important if you're winterizing or storing in freezing temps. Burst pipes can run you thousands of dollars in repairs, so having easy access to drain everything is huge. Oh, and get this. One of the exterior doors goes straight into the bathroom. If you come back from a muddy hike and needs to use the facilities while someone's sleeping inside, this changes the whole dynamic of how you use the space. Right next to it, there's a shower hose that pulls out a few feet. Perfect for washing off boots, rinsing gear, whatever. Now, the freshwater tank is only 63 liters. That's about 16.5 gallons. Yeah, that's small compared to American standards where you're usually looking at 30 to 50 gallons. But context matters. In Japan, campgrounds are everywhere and water access is super convenient. This smaller tank means less weight, better handling, and more room for other stuff in the chassis. If you're serious boondocking in the middle of nowhere, you'll fill up more often. But honestly, that's a pretty fair trade-off considering everything else you're getting. Let's also check out how this motorhome compares against what we're used to seeing in America. The closest comparison would be those compact Class Cs built on Transit or ProMaster chassis. usually somewhere between 20 and 24 feet. Right off the bat, the Liberty's got a 3 to 7 foot advantage in length, which doesn't sound like much on paper, but makes a massive difference when you're actually trying to park or navigate tight spaces. American Class Cs go all in on interior volume. You get slide-outs to expand the living space, full-size residential appliances, big water tanks, and they're built using pretty much the same wood frame construction methods we've been using for decades. The whole philosophy is more space, more stuff, competitive price point. Looking at the fuel economy, most American Class Cs in this size range are pulling somewhere between 8 and 12 miles per gallon. I've seen people claim they get 15 or even 17 with diesel Sprinters, but let's be real, most owners report closer to 10 or 12 inches actual mixed driving. Let us know your take on this if you have American RV. But for the Liberty, we're talking 20 to 25 miles per gallon in real-world conditions. Do the math on a year of travel and you're looking at thousands of dollars difference in fuel costs alone. Moving on to the construction, it is completely different too. The Liberty uses FRP, that's fiber reinforced plastic, which creates this continuous thermal barrier. American RVs use wood framing with metal fasteners and studs that basically create little bridges for heat and cold to leak through. The Liberty's vacuum-bonded insulation keeps the interior climate way more stable. Practically speaking, this means you can actually camp in extreme temperatures without your furnace running constantly or your AC struggling to keep up. The Liberty also has radiant floor heating, which is something you almost never see in American Class Cs. Not just a heater, but actual heated floors throughout the main living area. It heats from the bottom up, no cold spots, no noisy fans cycling on and off every 10 minutes. The comfort level is just different. So where American RVs are maximizing cubic feet with thin walls, the Liberty's trading some of that interior space for better build quality and way better efficiency. It's a totally different value proposition. Neither one is objectively better, they're serving different needs. But I do think it's worth asking whether American buyers are getting what they actually need, or just what they've been told they need by an industry that's been doing things the same way for 40 years. Moving on to the interior, when you step inside, the first thing that hits you is how different it feels from typical motorhome interiors. Instead of the dark wood or sterile white plastic you usually see, the Liberty goes with warm beige as the base color, with these orange accents that add some energy and gray elements for a more modern look. Feels more like a nice hotel than a camping vehicle, honestly. The lighting is where they really nail the space perception thing. Most RVs just slap some bright LED puck lights on the ceiling that create harsh shadows and make the space feel smaller than it is. The Liberty uses indirect lighting, that is LED strips tucked into the cabinetry and ceiling joints that bounce light off the surfaces. Psychologically, it makes the walls feel further away than they actually are. It's a clever trick, and it works. Living in tight quarters for weeks at a time, visual clutter becomes this low-grade stress you don't even realize is there until it's gone. By keeping the aesthetic clean and simple, they've created a space that actually feels calming instead of claustrophobic. Even the ceiling changes depending on where you are. In the kitchen and dining area, it's got this slightly textured raised surface that makes the space feel taller. In the bedroom, there's more of a fabric-like texture that softens things acoustically. These aren't random choices, they actually affect how comfortable the space feels when you're spending hours in it every day. The dinette is where you really see the engineering coming together. The seats are actually wide and properly padded, not those cramped bench things where you're uncomfortable after 20 minutes. You can actually sit cross-legged or curl up with a book without feeling squeezed. The table slides back and forth, obviously useful for getting in and out or creating different seating configurations. It lowers down for converting to a bed, pretty standard RV stuff. But then, and this is the part that got me, it also rotates. Like you can angle it to face different directions depending on what you're doing. In case you're working on your laptop while someone's watching TV, angle it one way. If you want to eat breakfast while looking out the big windows at some scenic campsite, just rotate it that direction. It sounds gimmicky until you realize how much this actually changes how you use the space throughout the day. The seat backs recline too, and I mean actually recline, not that token couple degrees most RVs give you. You can get comfortable enough to watch a movie or read for hours without your back screaming at you. When you convert it to a bed, you're looking at about 63 by 35 inches. Works fine for kids or shorter adults. Taller folks would need to sleep diagonal or with their legs bent a bit. It's clearly designed as a backup sleeping option rather than the main bed, which makes sense. There's a fold-down side table below where the TV mounts, and it's got AC outlets and USB ports right there, so you can actually set up a legitimate workspace. With more people working remotely these days, that's not just a nice-to-have anymore. The overhead cab-over bed is surprisingly spacious, about 76 by 68 inches, which is getting close to a standard double bed. Not some cramped loft where you're bumping your head every time you roll over. If you spring for the optional skylight, you get natural light during the day, and you can fall asleep looking at stars at night. There's something pretty special about that. Above the dinette, there's a bunk bed that deploys on these smooth rolling tracks with locking mechanisms to keep it secure while you're driving. Access is via an aluminum ladder that's light enough to move around easily, but solid enough that you're not worried about it. What makes this whole setup work is that you've got 3 distinct sleeping zones: the cab over, the rear bed, and the convertible dinette. So one person can be sleeping in the cab over while someone else is working at the dinette or making food. You're not stuck with the everyone goes to bed at the same time problem you get with most small campers. The main rear bed is 75.5 inches long, with a 47-inch width at the head that tapers down to 39 inches at the foot, whereby 2 average-sized people fit fine. The foam cushions are actually decent quality, not those thin things that bottom out after a few nights. Now, for the love of good meals, this masterpiece's kitchen is laid out pretty efficiently considering the space constraints. It features a 2-burner gas stove next to a sink that's actually deep enough to be useful. The stove runs on cassette gas canisters instead of traditional propane. In Japan and a lot of other places, these are everywhere: convenience stores, supermarkets, whatever. Super easy to swap out, and you can carry spares without dealing with bulky propane tanks. In North America, you'd need to plan a bit more since they're not as universal, but they're not hard to find either. Ventilation is solid in this RV. There's a dedicated fan right over the stove, plus a max fan roof vent, and you can add an optional deodorizer. Between all that, cooking bacon or fish won't leave your rig smelling funky for the next 3 days. There's also a fridge that is generous for this size class, enough for a week-long trip for 2 people. You also get microwave mounted at a convenient height. Then the storage is well thought out with multiple drawers and cabinets. Another little detail I appreciated is the cabinet edges are curved instead of sharp corners. When 2 people are trying to move around the galley at the same time, those rounded edges make a real difference. No constant hip checking and getting bruised up. Okay, let's check out the bathroom. Let's be honest here. It's a wet bath, meaning the toilet, sink, and shower are all in one waterproof room. The whole space is the shower. Everything gets wet when you're using it. For some people, that's a total deal breaker. For others, it's a reasonable trade-off for having a more compact, easier-to-drive rig. The layout works well for what it is. Toilets positioned with decent knee room, sink handles the basics fine. Water drains properly so you're not standing in a puddle. There's a window that opens and a solar-powered vent fan to manage moisture and prevent that musty smell that plagues a lot of RV bathrooms. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you're used to a dry bath with a separate shower stall, this will feel tight. That's just the reality of the compromise. Talking about the systems and storage, the storage game is strong. The rear bed lifts up on gas struts, revealing this huge underbed storage area. You can access it from inside or outside, depending on what's convenient. Suitcases, camping gear, tools, whatever you need to haul. Let's not forget the legit control panel. Having a Victron battery monitor is showing real-time data. Not some vague battery icon, but actual numbers for capacity, DC draw, AC usage, solar input if you've got panels. The switch panel controls everything with proper dimming for the lights and individual controls for different zones. The heating system deserves its own mention. There's an FF diesel furnace, but the real star is the radiant floor heating throughout the main living area. Combined with that FRP insulation, you can legitimately camp in serious cold, like genuine below 0 Fahrenheit cold, not just kinda chilly cold. With its modular battery system, you can get 2,000, 400, 4,000, 800, or 9,600 watt-hours of lithium capacity. That's not just a spec difference, it's the difference between weekend camping and extended off-grid living. While on the road, the turbo diesel provides adequate power. It's not going to blow anyone's doors off, but highway cruising is comfortable and relaxed. Ride quality's good on smooth pavement. Rougher roads, you'll notice some gentle swaying from the rear overhang. It's physics. There's living space behind the rear axle. It's noticeable but not problematic. Those dual rear tires really shine on the highway. Crosswinds that would push a single rear-wheel van all over the place barely register. Much more confidence-inspiring. In cities and towns, that compact 7-foot length is a game-changer. You can fit in regular parking spots, navigate tight streets, make turns that would be sketchy or impossible in a 5-footer. Now let's talk about what you're giving up, because there are real compromises here. The 6.3-liter water tank means more frequent fills if you're serious about boondocking. The cassette gas system requires some adaptation for American users. The wet bath isn't for everyone. You've got less interior volume than bigger rigs. That's just basic physics. The rear bed tapers narrower at the foot to fit the exterior storage. It's not a flaw, it's a design choice, but it's worth knowing about. This isn't pretending to be a 5-foot luxury coach. It's an exceptionally well-built compact motorhome that asks you to trade some space for better engineering, efficiency, and capability. In the end, here's what it comes down to. This isn't a compromise rig or a budget option. It's built around entirely different priorities. And if those priorities align with what you actually need, it might make more sense than the traditional American approach. If you mostly stay in developed campgrounds with full hookups and you really value interior space, a conventional Class C probably serves you better, no shame in that. But if your version of RV life involves more spontaneity, getting to places off the beaten path, actually driving into interesting towns instead of bypassing them, camping off-grid without sacrificing comfort, or just wanting something that'll last 20 years instead of maybe holding together for 5, then the Liberty's philosophy starts making a lot of sense. The attention to detail is what really gets me. The rain gutters that actually work, the gas strut bed lifts, the table adapts to however you're using the space, the floor heating for winter camping, the modular battery system. These aren't flashy marketing features. They're things that make daily life noticeably better when you're actually living in the thing. The Liberty proves that efficiency isn't about making do with less. It's about being smart with what you have. It proves you can create a more comfortable environment with better insulation and thoughtful design than you can by just making everything bigger. For RVers who are overdriving massive rigs and dealing with the stress that comes with them, who value build quality over checking feature boxes, who want to camp year-round, including real winter, this represents something genuinely different. It's shorter than your truck, but way smarter than your RV. And honestly, that might be exactly where motorhome design should be heading. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to watch the next video on your screen.
Engine hums a steady beat, leaving the familiar street. Dust trails rise to meet the sun. A brand new journey has begun. Open road, a wild frontier. No maps, no worries, no fear. Off-grid dreams, a spirit free. Just the motorhome and me. Desert whispers, mountain high, beneath a boundless open sky. Every turn, a new surprise, reflected in my waking eyes. Open road, a wild frontier. No maps, no worries, no fear. no city noise, no endless race, finding solace